Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Growth House Podcast. I am Jesse Ray. I usually don't stand up for these podcasts, man. Today I'm standing up. I know this guest is going to have so much value. You're going to bring so much heat that I got the buttons off. The chain is slightly out. We're going to have a lot of fun today. This is your real estate influencer's favorite influencer. This is someone that I don't usually say, there's a GOAT. Not too many GOATs out there, but this is the GOAT of midterm rentals. Welcome to the show, Jesse Vasquez. Appreciate you, man.
Yeah, thanks, man. I appreciate it. That was a really strong intro, and he's fluffing a little bit. You guys just let him do his thing. And just so you guys know, two Jessies don't make a right. So we're already starting it off with that energy and flow. So I'm with it, bro. I'm with it.
Let's go, man. The best name as well. We got two Jessies on the podcast.
I got a question on the name, dude. Do you believe that getting whatever name is assigned to you at birth, that if you have a strong characteristic, like say like Matthew, and then you get a name like Jesse, does that make you soft to have that kind of name?
I don't think it's soft, but if you let people call you Jess,
yeah,
it's a little soft.
Really? everybody calls me Jess.
Look at me. I hype up my guest, and then I hit him with calling him soft. Oh, man.
Yeah. Well, the reason why I bring that up, dude, is because I believe that there's like a name psychology. And I didn't think about that later on, like later on in life. But like my kid's name, I have a Julian is one of my names, and Jonah. Those are like, Julian's kind of like I guess that's kind of a unisex name. Jonah's Jonah from Jonah and the Whale. You guys all know it.
Yeah, biblical. Like, I love it.
Yeah, but like there's just, it's not one of those names. It's like a strong, like Matthew or like Zach or freaking Chad. You know what I mean? But I don't know, man. There's a science to that. We're gonna have to get a neuroscience, a doctor to come in here, a therapist or something, to go through that with you one of these days.
Yeah, I mean, I've not dove into that very often. I'm just like, hey, just make sure you don't have the I in there, and I'll be cool. Just Jesse. I'm sure you probably have that a lot too.
Dude, the I and the E just like, it kills you. I'm like, how do you not know? Like it says it right there. You got to just come on, man.
Come on, guys. Well, now you know. Now you know some pet peeves of Jesse's.
I know, dude.
Bro,
got him lined up.
I'm so excited to dive in. You're someone that I've been watching, just on the come up. And I love your backstory because you're the perfect person to talk about midterm rentals because you have that backstory. And I want you to share that you were in the, hospitals, you were doing all those things, and you basically saw a problem and solved that problem. So let's start here. For our audience, what is a midterm rental? And then how'd you get started?
Yeah, so midterm rentals are typically rentals that rent for 30 days at a time. So you got the long-term rentals, which are usually typically a year-long lease, right? You got the short-term rentals that are a night, and then you got the midterm rentals that are 30 days right smack in the middle. So that's a pretty easy way to say midterm rentals. And typically they're anywhere from a month long to 6 months, 8 months, 9 months, as long as it's under a year. And I fell into this line of work by accident. I worked in healthcare for 17 years, and I was on a hospital floor one day, and there was this woman that had this pretty badass accent. She was from Fargo, North Dakota. And for anybody that knows Fargo, North Dakota, she said things like, "Don't you know?" And like, "Isn't he a doll?" And I was just like, I'm from California. I just say dude and bro man all the time. Right. And she just like, my senses just she attracted me to her because of that voice. And I talked to her. Her name was Barb. And she was just like, "Look, I'm a travel nurse. I'm here on location right now for 3 months, 90 days. I'm from Fargo and the weather sucked there. So I decided to come to California. I ended up in Modesto. I thought I was going to be next to a beach, but I'm basically in the armpit of California, which is Modesto, by the way." And she said that I asked her where she was staying, and she told me she was staying at a Motel 6. And then I asked her how much she was paying, and she said $3,000 a month. And this is 2015, before midterm rentals were cool, you guys. So this is back 9 years ago. So I realized back then, like in California, in Central California where I lived, you could buy a home for $250K and your mortgage payment would be $1,300. So I wasn't even thinking about real estate, dude. I didn't even have a real estate background. In fact, my parents had real estate, and I learned the shittiest things about real estate from my parents because they had property that they ended up losing. They had tenants that weren't paying their bills, that weren't paying their monthly mortgage. And like one of the biggest memories that I have as a child is sitting in the back seat. Have you ever watched National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation? Tell me you have, Jesse.
Oh, I'm gonna let you down right here. I don't think I have.
Are you serious, dude? Oh my God. All right. You got to do me a favor, bro. And this is going to be by the end of this week. Actually, today's Friday. Fuck. Well, next week.
All right.
Just watch National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation. Okay. You should probably watch it. You got to watch it during Christmas, but we'll have you do it early. Anyway, the car that they ride in, and for those of you watching, you know exactly what I'm talking about. It's a station wagon. It looks like wood. It's like fake wood looking. Like there's painted wood on there. We were driving into that car when I was a kid to I didn't know where, which ended up being a courthouse. I remember looking out the window, and we have these like really fuzzy seats, and I was running my hand over it. My parents were arguing in the front. I never heard my parents ever argue ever. We got to the courthouse. I remember sitting in the back, dude, of the courthouse, and it was a judge, my parents on one side, and this woman on the other side. And she hadn't paid rent for 6 months, was living in the property for 6 months, and they were trying to get her out. Finally, ended up getting her out. My parents were trying to sue her so that they can get payment. And the judge turned and looked at my parents and was like, Mr. and Mrs. Vasquez, this woman, this is the third time in the last 4 years that I've seen her in a courtroom. This is what she does. And unfortunately, even though we put something on her, she's probably not going to pay you. So you're going to have to chalk this up as a loss and move forward with it. So I got to I watched the ugliest part of real estate, which is evictions, and these things happen, right? So for me, like getting into real estate, I don't know, subconsciously, maybe I need to talk to my therapist about this, but I basically started getting contracts with these companies where they were paying me ahead of time. So I have these tenants that were getting contracts where the hospital actually paid for the stay of these nurses. So I wasn't going after an individual nurse. It was a company that has millions of dollars that is able to back and actually be the leasee on these properties, which is pretty freaking awesome. So and that was me evaluating this over the years when I'm talking about talking about a therapist. Like I subconsciously did not want to rent to traditional, like do the traditional route. So that's how it all started for me, man. I went out and bought a property 30 days after I met Barbara, after I went down to the ER, or there was a room in the hospital called the HR department, which you guys probably heard of before. And Jess, have you ever seen, I'm going to call you Jess because I call everybody that's named Jess. So I know you hate that, but I'm going to continue.
Let's go.
Um, have you ever seen how anybody that works in the hospital has a badge, and like they'll pull the badge out and they'll badge into the door and they can get them into a place?
Yeah, yeah.
Like, so if I'm going to go into an HR department, I have to have a badge and I have to badge in to go into the door. I didn't have a badge because I didn't work at the hospital. I worked for a company that was part of the hospital. So this nurse, and I'm just giving you this as an example because this is the one thing that made me build my business. And this is for everybody right now. So I hope you hear this. A woman badged in. It was a nurse. I remember vividly. She had red hair. She badged into the nurse, badged in to get in the HR department. And if you guys can envision this right now, there's like a door that's closing slowly. Like, in those hospitals, they have big ass doors. It was closing super slow. And I was like, should I just go in there? I don't have a badge. I don't know if I should go in. About 3 inches, dude, before the door shut, I stuck my freaking foot in there. Door just boom, hit my foot. I opened the door in there. I went in. There was this woman named Misty that was sitting at the desk in front of me. She had a big old sign that said Misty, so I knew that's what her name was. And I was like, "Hey, Misty, I just talked to Barbara on the telemetry floor 3, and she's staying in Motel 6 on 9th Street, which is like the worst hotel. Can you tell me how I can help house travel nurses that are coming?" That lady looked at me like she was chewing gum, dude. She was like looked at me and was just like, actually, yeah, we've been looking for somebody that can have housing for these clinicians because we have a ton of clinicians that are coming right now that we need to house, or that we need to actually find somewhere for them to stay because they're staying in Motel 6 and crappy motels. So I ended up getting a contract, dude, and it was just me. And the reason why I'm bringing this up is because if I didn't take advantage of getting myself in a situation where I wasn't allowed to go in or having a badge to get in there, I took that on myself. And sometimes it just takes that little moment or that little indication of having the ability to do something, even when you're not supposed to, or even when you think you can't, or even when you can't go somewhere. That action right there, dude, put me in a position to be on this call with you. And I think that's where a lot of us sometimes, doesn't matter what you're doing in life, whether it's real estate or you're an entrepreneur or, whatever, those little actions sometimes will put you in a position where you do not even realize the magnitude of what they will provide by just taking that one little, leap of faith in a direction. So it was just powerful, man, to go back and like reflect on that, because that one thing did everything, created that snowball.
That's so good. And yeah, creativity, like when people have excuses, like you just gotta get creative and you won't know. Like you didn't know you sticking your foot in that door was gonna change your life. But now
Fuck no.
looking back,
No, no
these
idea.
little moments where you probably were scared, you're probably like, this lady's gonna be like, get out of my office. You don't have clearance. Like, so I can relate so much too because I was in copier sales. That was my first job. So we're both, former sales guys, probably recovering. So like I totally hear you on that situation. I stuck myself in the rooms I probably wasn't supposed to be in to try to work with the decision makers. And so I want to actually take a step back and just talk about sales real quick because I've heard you mention it and how important of a skill set it is For you, how important is being good at sales?
Bro, it's the one skill that I acquired super early in my life. And I tell my kids this all the time because my kids are getting older. If you have the ability to go up to somebody and shake their hand and look them dead in the eye and say, hey, how are you doing? My name is Jesse. What's your name? Just having that skill and being comfortable doing it, if you're, especially if you're young, dude, can do so much because that opens the door for conversation. Most people don't do those kinds of things. It's a soft skill that I feel like is being lost in this new age and generation. Like people are on their phones all the time, right? They're always looking at things. So yeah, man, I feel like sales is one of those things, man, that if you, no matter what business you're in, you're going to need sales. In fact, I look at sales in like the second that we're born every day. And when we're born, right, the second we're born, we cry for our mothers or cry for something because we're trying to sell our parents that we need something. As you're getting older, you're trying to sell ideas of why you want to get that new BMX bike. You're trying to sell that idea of getting that new PlayStation. So sales, and I forget the statistic, it's like we're being sold like 397 times a day by our family members, by something coming up on TV, by if your wife's like, I want to go out to eat dinner Chinese, and you're like, no, I want Italian. I'm trying to sell the idea of why we need to go have Italian rather than Chinese. So it's just one of these things, man, that becomes part of. I think it's just one of those things that if you're able to learn one skill in your life and you can adapt that, you can translate that into literally anything. Doesn't matter what you're doing. It's just powerful.
So true. On the sales topic, real quick, I think
Yeah.
rejection is also something that not too many people want to experience. But if you're able to experience rejection at an early age and then just expand your comfort zone so it doesn't affect you as much, like for me, I would be that kid knocking on doors to sell cookie dough in the neighborhood and then getting doors slammed on my
Yeah.
face, doing, basically door to door selling copiers. Like that sucked. But that has made me like so much stronger in business because I was able to deal with rejection. And I don't know, for me, when I have like, younger people ask me like, hey, what should I do? I'm like, go figure out a job where you could get rejected like all summer during like college or high school. So you just
Yeah.
build that toughness. I don't know. What would you say to that? Because I'm sure you probably
Bro,
experienced something similar.
I had this time where I went into because my job was to talk to doctors and like these super prestigious doctors because I was working at like Stanford. We'd go to San Francisco, and I remember, dude, one time I had this doctor that I was talking to, and if you guys are watching this, you can see me right now. He was on his clipboard like this, dude. He was like writing stuff out, and his name was Dr. Hundle. I was like, hey, Dr. Hundle, and there was a mirror on the corner of the room, dude. Like it's for like if somebody's walking, they can see that both sides are coming. He looked at me in that mirror and didn't he kept his back to me the whole time. It was the most like humbling experience I'd ever had, that he didn't even want to turn around to look at me to have a conversation. And I'm going to tell you this, those kinds of rejection pieces you will never forget. You'll never forget, but what it does is it builds this callus for you where it's almost like you are okay being told or being in a position where nobody wants to hear you, or you're having a door slammed in your face. And if you're able to chalk that off just like that, and you walk to the next house and you make the next knock, you're going to build something successful, because anything that you're doing, rejection is 100% a part of it, especially with sales, dude. Like that is the piece of the puzzle that it can make or break a lot of people. In fact, and this could be true for you too. I remember when I worked in sales, dude, I would go like that same doctor, Dr. Hundle. I drove to his office again the next time because I had to go see him weekly. And I sat in the parking lot, dude, listening to like an Eminem song to try to pump me up to go back in there to have a
You
conversation with
listen to Lose Yourself before you went to the
him. Dude, I
doctor's
was. It was like
office.
I would walk around with headphones on, bro. And these were the wired ones like back in the day. We
Oh,
didn't have
man.
the cool ones now. I had a wired headphone in my ear and I was pumping myself up to go back in there and to get rejected again. And that's what you have to do to build the thick skin. And not only that, but to be able to put yourself in a position where you can have follow-up, even if you've had the shittiest event happen to you where it's like, damn it, I don't even want to go in here. I'm going to sit in the parking lot for an hour, listen to Eminem for freaking 47 minutes before I get up in there. That's how you know you're onto something good, because it's something uncomfortable and you're putting yourself out there anyway. Like you just got to do
So
that, dude.
good. Yeah, everything you want is the opposite side of fear. I think that's one of the quotes that one of my favorite ones. And also what you just mentioned, like that rejection piece, those like worst rejections are so funny and the best stories to share later on in life. So I always look at if something terrible happens to me, I'm like, you know what? Like 3 or 4 years, I'll get over it. Hopefully sooner. But then you're able
Yeah,
to actually share that on a podcast or when you're talking. So yeah,
bro. I
guys.
just I just wrote something on Threads about this. Let me go back to it real quick because I used this Threads as like a mental like notes to myself. Check this out, you guys. Fear is always present when you're doing something worth doing. So lean into it. Anytime you're doing anything and you feel that you are scared of something, I get scared of shit all the time. Like getting on a stage scares the crap out of me. I know that I'm onto something on the right track if I'm scared and I have that, you know, how you get that feeling in your stomach if you're going to cold call somebody, you're just like, oh man, I know that's going to suck. I'm like, that's the feeling that you want to have. You know, you're doing something incredible. Like it's always going to be present during that time. If you're doing something of a big magnitude, it's just part of how it works, man.
So true. And I know some people listening, like, Jesse, you're 15 minutes in. You haven't talked about midterm rentals yet. Guys, this is all going to tie in because the formula, the game plan, how Jesse is able to grow and connect with these organizations is not just passive. Hey, Furnish Finder. Hey, it's on Airbnb. I'm just going to wait for people to reach out to me. No, it's a proactive approach. So I want to start tying that into actually what you ended up doing. Because a lot of people reach out to me, Jesse, I want to do, midterm rentals. I'm not the expert. Go see the other Jesse. But
Yeah.
they think that, hey, I'm just going to put it on Airbnb and I'm going to get booked. So walk me through that process that you were able to figure out connecting with agencies, hospitals, etc.
Yeah. Well, first off, just real quick so everybody gets this, my job in the W-2 world was I was a business development manager, which is a fancy way of just saying sales rep. And I just managed other sales reps. But I had to go into these hospitals, make friends with what are called case managers, and then have them send referrals to me. That's what my job was. So this came super natural to me, dude. Like I met Barb, right? I went and talked to Missy in the hospital. Missy ended up telling me that they worked with a company called AMN Healthcare. They were, and you guys can look them up and probably reach out to them if you can, because they're all over the U.S. They're a travel nursing agency. And I called AMN and I just said, hey, exact same thing I did with my W-2 job. Hey, I have an opportunity here. I have clinicians that are coming to these markets. I already talked to DMC, which is the hospital that I went into. I've talked to people that are on Furnish Finder. They're trying to find housing. There's not quality housing here. I would love to talk to the recruiter that's in charge of building this out for folks. And that's what ended up happening, dude. So I think the most important piece of this puzzle is finding a resource. And I happened to see it in my backyard and I was never paying attention to these things. And I think we all have these kinds of opportunities. And I'll talk about a little bit more that happened to me where I'm like, holy shit, this is like a massive booking. I saved a company money. But the goal is that you put yourself out there to become a referral source and a go-to housing provider for those people that are coming into the market. So even if the company doesn't pay, where they could say like, our travel nurses get stipend pay. Okay, cool. I want to be the first resource that are, instead of the travel nurses going to look on Airbnb and VRBO or Furnish Finder, like you're going to send them my information. So I put a flyer together that basically said, these are my houses. Here's how far they are from the hospitals. I talked to your recruiter already. Let's talk to let's try to see if we can work something out. So yeah, you're being proactive. You're building your own house on your own land, because most people go on Airbnb and they go on VRBO and they go on Furnish Finder. And just like you get messages, I get a message daily. And if I went in my Instagram, I know I could probably talk to you about 2 messages that I got yesterday. And it's like, hey, Jess, my place has been vacant for 6 months or 6 weeks now. I haven't been able to get my place booked. Here's the listing. Like, can you tell me what's wrong with it? And the first thing I could say is like, if you're sitting around waiting to get booked, that's the last thing you want to do. Like, it's just not smart at all. Yeah, you're going to get bookings, but it's going to be sporadic and you're probably not going to get the money you want. And guess what? Every other person on this block is doing the same thing.
Man, so true right there. I want to dive into more, details in MTR space, but I want to take a step back for someone who's looking to get into investing in real estate, looking at all these different options, especially for our audience. They want a little quicker path to financial freedom where, the unit count could be nice, but for me, I don't care about the number of doors. I'm not trying to throw the emoji on my, Instagram that says 8,000 doors. I care more about cash flow. And that's a lot of our audience. So the ways that you can obviously get cash flow would be long-term, midterm, short-term, co-living. That's kind of what I specialize in. But for you, why would you say that the MTR strategy is one of the better strategies?
I feel it's a better strategy because you're building something that Airbnb can't take from you. You're building a Rolodex of clients that you're working with on a regular basis that whether Airbnb disappears, now have a real estate business, which is my actual tangible real estate. And then I created a business where there's clients that I'm working with. Dude, you guys can sell that. That's a business in itself. And this is where people in real estate screw things up. And I apologize for anybody that takes this literal. You'll buy real estate and you just sit there and you wait for it to appreciate and you get a couple $100 cash flow, which is great. Don't get me wrong. It's a great investment. But there's also these other ancillary businesses you could build. And me going after these companies and creating opportunities for myself and those companies essentially is its own company. So if you look at it, I have the real estate and now I have this company that has clients that are coming to me that I can refer out to you, Jess, or refer out to anybody else in my market. So there's different layers of the business where I have referrals that I send over to somebody. We make 10% of whatever referral, just like a wholesale deal. If I get an insurance claim that's $10,000 and it's in Phoenix, guess what? I'm going to hit you up and say, hey, Jess, you got a 4-bedroom, 3-bath house with the pool. This company's willing to pay me 10 grand. It's going to be a 3-month claim. It's $30,000. Do you mind giving me 3 grand? I'll toss this over to you. Guess what you're going to say? Cool.
Hell
Yeah,
yeah.
I'll do it. Yeah, exactly. Hell yeah. So now I make 3 grand for me just getting this deal. I make my client that I'm talking to happy. The family that lost their home in a fire, flood, or whatever, they're happy. And then you're happy because you got your place booked for 3 months, and everybody's winning. So it's one of those businesses, dude, where it's like, and this is the thing that I've been trying to instill with everybody that comes into our community. It's not just about us. Like, we are able to actually help each other out rather than just like, how Airbnb, it's like everybody's picking me, pick me. My place is the best. This midterm space is like a collective effort where if we're both making moves, I can come to you, Jess, and be like, hey, what resources do you have in what market? And you'll share those with me, and I'll share mine with you, because at the end of the day, we're trying to help these companies, and we're going to share resources. So instead of me having 20 properties connected to you and you have 30 properties, now I got 50. So I can essentially work those. And the bigger the network you get, the more homes that come into that market, the more ability that you have to work up with these bigger players, because now we're actually competing on a corporate level. We're actually competing on a bigger magnitude, where us little guys that have 1 to 3 to 5 properties, our network is our net worth. We're able to share that, and everybody's going to win if we get a claim somewhere else. Plus, I'm wholesaling a deal basically to you, which is pretty cool.
And you mentioned something that we got to go touch on, because this is something that I had to realize. Go from an investor, a real estate investor, to a real estate business owner.
Yeah.
Talk about that. How was that transition for you? Almost seems like it was natural, because you weren't even trying to be an investor. You saw a problem and said, I'm going to build this business around this problem.
Yeah, bro. I feel like the business brain and an investor brain are very much the same in a lot of ways. It's just a macro level versus a micro level. And I think that a lot of investors sometimes will put themselves in these little tiny categories. Dude, you're running numbers, you're doing all these things. Like, that's what a business owner does. They just do it on a bigger scale with P&Ls. They call it a different thing, right? They completely call it something else. But essentially, if you're able to separate those two things, it makes it easier. And the jobs that I had the years before that, dude, I worked for startups every like 2 years. I'd jump from startup to startup to startup. So that almost became like a very natural thing for me. In fact, I even owned a home health company, and I got it, all this business for it. And then they ended up selling it, and I didn't get any of the money because I wasn't tenured in. It was like my first gut punch. And that's what ultimately got me out of the business, is that I realized that it doesn't matter how much I could do. Somebody's going to sell this business. And then even if I own part of it, or I thought I did, I'm going to get nothing. So I'm like, I got to do shit for myself and not other people anymore. So yeah, man, there's a big piece of the puzzle when it comes to business. And I think that hopefully the folks that you work with here or listening to this podcast start to think about business on top of the real estate stuff as an investor. And don't put yourself in that box.
So good. Diving into more specifics on the midterm rental space. When you're looking at a midterm rental, what are you looking for? Are you looking for condos? Are you looking for no HOA? Are you looking for a certain bed, bath count?
Yeah, I stay away from HOAs because HOAs are like the government. They can regulate whenever they decide, right? So I try to stay away from HOAs unless there's a 30-day minimum, and you got to check the bylaws on that. But I typically like 3-bedroom, 2-bath or bigger. And the reason why I bring that up is because I like to have exit strategies. It's like if I'm not able to short-term rent or midterm rent or do co-living, pad split, whatever, then now I'm going to go to long-term. That's my last resort for whatever reason it is. So the average home in the United States right now is a 3-bedroom, 2-bath. That's the most houses they built in the U.S. So if there's somebody that loses their home in a fire or flood, I have something that's very similar to what they have. So I look at it in those types of things. So if I'm working with insurance companies, there's my out right there. The average home is a 3.2, 1,500 square feet. So I like single family, man. I really do that. I'm barely now getting into multifamily, where I think there's a huge opportunity in the multifamily side if you're able to leverage midterm and you keep the long-term stuff together. You're able to do both. You can flip the net operating income with a contract where it's an actual legit contract for, say, 6 months a year. If I bought something for $1 million, it's now worth 1.5 because our rents are up. Our rents are higher, right? And they're consistent. It's not just a one-time thing. So I think you're going to start seeing a lot more intuitive investors get the midterm rental contracting stuff down, buy a 40-unit complex, have 15 of those rented out to, some construction company for 6 months or 8 months or even longer than that. And now they're flipping the net operating income, and you're creating more of an opportunity. That it could be a year long, the lease, 6 months, whatever it is. But you could sell that with those with those clients that are already in there. So I think there's just a big opportunity right now on that end.
I love that you think with like the end in mind. Like, And that's something I'm learning. Like a real true startup company, like they think with a plan to eventually sell. Maybe you don't because you love the cash flow, but you have that end in mind. Talk to me about like where'd you get that concept, or have you always had that?
Yeah, I didn't always have it. I think that the more that I get around, I'm in a group called Go Abundance, and I just joined a like a high level mentorship with this dude named Taki Moore. And if you talk to all these founders, like I'm fortunate enough to be around all these high level founders, they don't think about that. They're thinking about like the end, the exit at a certain point, and then what they're going to do even after that. So it's like, they're exiting at 40, 50 million. I talked to a guy that exited a company at 50 million. And he's like, I celebrated for one night. And the next day I got up and I'm like, where can I move that money somewhere else? So I think entrepreneurs just have this like innate feeling. Cause I asked him, I was like, man, what did it feel like to like wake up and look at your bank account and see $40 million in there? And he's like, honestly, I don't even think about it. He literally told me that. And I thought he would have been like, man, I just like stare at it all the time. Like it'd be, that's what I would be doing. But he's like, I don't even think about it anymore. It's done. Like that was done. And I thought about what's the next thing I could do. And it started to really make me realize that a lot of true entrepreneurs, like they're not trying to sell. Like, and if they do sell, now it's the next opportunity to build something bigger. And it's this ever ending, it's a game. They love the game of building stuff. And I think that's where I'm at, man. I love building. Doesn't matter what it is. I love the creation of something, the idea that comes to life. The operational aspect of it. Like I think ideas are easy, execution is hard. Anybody has idea, everybody has ideas, right? They're like kittens, everybody's just giving away all the time. But the actual breakdown of putting operational stuff together, that's where it becomes hard. And I love creating with people that have that operational mind. I think I'm more of a visionary. I have the ideas, and you get around the Jesse Rays that are operational. They're integrators, and you start to put all the things that we talk about onto paper, then create teams out of it. I just love watching that, dude. Like I love the transformative stuff, whether it's somebody losing weight, getting into shape, or going to school. Like I love that becoming stage, no matter what, with anything, if you know what I'm talking about.
100%. And I think you just mentioned something that I don't want to gloss over. You put yourself in these rooms where you're looking at them, be like, oh my gosh, these guys are way above me. But you becoming that close to them, there's power in proximity. And so I think that's something, especially for early investors and people that are looking to get into something. That's why I say, like, hey, when someone reaches out to me and they want to be, scale quickly, I'm like, you better find a mentor. You better join a community. And that's what you're
Yeah,
doing. We all are trying to level up. I'm in tons of different masterminds. I spend tens of thousands of dollars. I'm sure you do the same, maybe even
yeah,
hundreds. So it's just like,
yeah.
that's so important to realize that it's, for me, the biggest benefit is not tactically what I learned, or it's not more information because it's all free out there. It's me
Right.
getting that close to someone that I didn't think what they were doing was possible until I was able to like dap them up, talk to them in person, and be like, this guy's no different than me. If he can do it, I
Dude.
can do it. It's that belief in yourself.
And that's the crazy thing. Like I'm glad you brought that up right now, because I'll get around these guys that are just doing like massive amount of income that come through. And there's 1% difference that they're doing for me. Like there's not this like they're not different people. They're the same, dude. They just have a different idea, had a different team. They had a different like they just did things a little bit different. And I think that um, there's we're not all that different when it comes to anything at all. In fact, they just put their heads down and they make things happen. And that's the cool thing about being these masterminds is that you do realize that you have the capability of the guy next door that's doing 20x from what you do, but there's just little tiny things that you will pick up from them because success leaves clues, right? And when you get in these masterminds, people talk about it now. Like they gracefully give the things away, which I think is awesome. So yeah, that's the way to build, man, is get around people that have been there, done that, and you're wanting to scale up and get into their sphere. And the second you start to believe in yourself like that, you'll have opportunities that start to land on your lap. Literally, it's you're putting that energy out there, and you'll get it back.
Is there any like specific things that you've taken away, whether it was like a thought like, whoa, that just changed my mindset, or something that landed in your lap from being in one of these, masterminds, high level groups?
Yeah, I think some of the biggest kind of takeaways from these groups are, realizing just the one thing that I mentioned right now, that everybody's pretty close to the same thing. But the biggest takeaway, dude, is that the guys that are at the top still don't know what they're doing. And I'm going to tell you guys this again, like the guys that are doing these high level things that you'll watch on Instagram, because I've been around these guys that like they look like everything's together. And they're coming to me saying, dude, I don't know how to do this. Like, I don't know how did you do that? Asking me how I did something. And it's crazy because I think you just have to put yourself in a situation where you have to figure this shit out. And most of the time we look at, the Pace Morbies and all these other people like, oh, they got it all figured out. they're trying to figure it out just like we are. Like they're doing the same exact thing that we are, just on a different level, but there's still the figuring out piece, which I think everybody needs to understand. Like we're all trying to figure shit out. Anybody that says they know what they're doing already, they're full of crap. Like that's not real.
So true. And it all comes back to taking like risk and being comfortable with knowing that failure is a part of success. And just take every, don't have to say you failed. You can say it's a learning lesson. Because I'm sure, I don't know, maybe you've had businesses. I know everyone I usually, have on the podcast are like, Jesse, this is like my sixth business. I'm like,
Yeah.
same. If I add up all the things I've tried, all the side hustles. So it's like, become comfortable and fail fast. I think that was something that I didn't want to do at first because like, let me just tiptoe in. But if you fail fast, you go all out, obviously with calculated risk. But I guess I also want to transition back to the MTR strategy with talking about risk and talking about exit strategies within, different ways that you can make cash flow through real estate. So do you underwrite your MTRs as long-term rentals before you purchase them? For me, I'm someone that is a little bit less risk averse. So I'm like, I got to make sure that this pencils as a long-term rental first. And then I know I'll probably make, 10 times more with my co-living model, and same with you as your MTR model. So walk me through that process of you looking for properties and how you underwrite.
I'm okay if I'm at a negative of, cause it's hard to find a prop, just so everybody knows, like go online right now. It's hard to find properties that are hitting the 1% rule, like with the interest rates being the way they are. There's certain markets that everybody's going to right now that are investing there. So I'm in California. A lot of my properties are in California. I have some in Texas as well. If I'm negative $200 or $300 a month with long-term rental, I'm okay with that. Like I'm personally okay because the way I look at it is this is going to come back in whatever amount of time, and I'll make this much. I'll make this money back. In fact, in 10 years, I'll be able to probably make $700 or $800 on long-term rental rates. So not every investor does that. I'm not going to take more than a $300 loss on a property if I had to go back to long-term rental. But I always look at what my exits are. And do I have the ability to do co-living? Do I have the ability to midterm? Is the short-term rental have a cap on it yet? What are the individual room rentals looking like on specific things? And we talk co-living, and I think co-living is I think is another really important piece of the puzzle. Like that's my last potential exit before I have to go back into long-term. And I've had to pivot before. Like we've had to do that before. So I personally am okay if a property doesn't hit long-term rental rates only by a couple hundred bucks, and that's even with 20% down. But yeah, any new investor that is coming into this space, I would say make sure you're buying in a place that has the ability to have, break even on your rent. And if you are able to make $100 or $50 or 25 even, at least you're not negative. And if you have the ability to absorb a negative $200 for whatever reason, if you had to go to that route for whatever reason, at least you're able to sustain it. Like you have to make sure that you have that ability. But I have more risk tolerance than most people do, to be honest with you. So
Yeah, I love that. I love that perspective. I'm slowly shifting there. I'm like, you know what? I know how much I can make through co-living, and even if it's a couple $100, it's not that big of a deal. So I actually do want to kind of go back and forth with MTR and co-living since you are, I see you on Pad Split. Pad Split's a great company. Looks like you
yeah,
work with them quite a bit. And
I
I'd
have
love to
I have
kind
a
of, what's that? You have a couple Pad Splits.
yeah, yeah, I do.
Amazing. Okay, let's talk about that next because I do want to dive into that.
Sure.
First, I want to go over common questions or misconceptions people have limiting beliefs around MTRs. Guys, this is brand new. I think I heard you on a podcast. You're like, this is like the first inning of MTRs and people doing it the right way. Airbnb, maybe seventh, eighth inning.
Right.
So saturation, Jesse, it's so saturated. All this MTRs, everyone's trying to get travel nurses, blah, 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 blah. What do you say to that?
I say, yeah, if you're the 99% that is listing on Airbnb and VRBO, you're the only ones that are going to fill that. The 1% that's actually going out and trying to build their own house on their own land, guess what? They're going to be around in 10 years, 15 years. That's how I look at it. I'm in San Francisco, dude. Have property in Los Angeles, in Houston, Texas, some of the most saturated markets on the planet. And guess what, dude? It doesn't bother me. Like we can be in these markets. But again, keep in mind, you guys, like I've been building this business for the last 9 years. So those relationships are there's long-term relationships that are going to pay you in dividends over the years. And I think that's where most people need to understand is it's a relationship-based game. Anything we're doing in real estate is involved with relationships, whether that's a contractor, whether that's your finance people, your private money lenders, whatever it is, it's all relationship-based. There's nothing different in this aspect. But the cool thing is that I can still work with the guy, Michael, over at AMN from 2015. I still know that dude now, man. Like I still connect with him now. 9 years later. So, relationships are the new currency if you think about it on a deeper level. Like they truly, truly are. Like that's where the money's at in the relationship. It's not about making the $3,000 from that one booking, but then you don't nurture that relationship. Like that's a waste of time and energy. Like think about it in long durations, long term.
So good, because Michael's going to give you 20 grand over the course of however long, but you're just focused on the 3 grand for the one time, and that's all you're focused on. You're going to get screwed in the long run. And I think I
100%.
posted this the other day, like with AI and with all these things, people are like, Jesse, why aren't you automating this and that and that and that? I'm like, yeah, there's some things I do definitely need to automate, especially as I get my like assistant and expand my team. But there's also things that I just realized this I need to keep as a real human relationship. These are the relationships I'm actually fostering. I'm not automating relationships that I really care about and I want to, grow and expand. I don't know if you want to touch on that because I feel like we're on the same vibe there.
Yeah, I think again, I think a lot of people in real estate know about the relationships, but it's something that I feel if you don't pay attention to, because this is what I see happen a lot, and I'll just break it down super simple and transparent with you. I'll have people that reach out to me and be like, Jess, I just got a $10,000 booking from a insurance claim. Like, I'm super excited. They first wanted 7. I said my amount was 10. And I was like, cool. You just might have ruined a relationship. Like they're thinking about just making that extra $2,000 a month rather than maybe only making, 4,000 or 2,000 or whatever it is. Instead, now they're making $5,000, but that's the last time they're ever going to get a claim from that operator ever, because they pushed their limits. They pushed it too far. They wanted to maximize the amount of income they can get, and they didn't think about the relationship and how am I able to serve more people and how can I help other investors that are in the space, because they're going to give me more leads later, which I can translate to you and anybody else in my community. So I think that, again, a lot of people just need to think about the longevity of, you might be able to take a little bit now, but that little bit's going to turn into a lot of bit over the next 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 months, 10 months, a year, 2 years, 3 years, 5 years. So always have that in your mind when you're building something, especially in the midterm space. It's not just necessarily about today. It's how can I stretch out this relationship over time through service and servitude so that I can eventually build something that's credible, that even if I'm not here, they're still going to send referrals to us. And I think that's the way to think about building something substantial, because we all do it with customers, right?
Yep.
We want to make our customers happy. We want to do all those things. Same thing, man. It's same dynamic.
So good. And before we transition to pad split and co-living, I do want to
Yeah.
talk about one of my limiting beliefs that I had for MTRs. So I have homes, right? And I'm like, co-living, I can guarantee myself some kind of income because it's not like all the rooms are gonna like all of a sudden be empty. Like I always have some, money coming in. And so for me, I'm like, for you, how often would a midterm rental be vacant? Because it's based on claims, right? It's based on people needing that at certain times. If you're in Jesse's community, you're going to get a lot more because it's a community of people that then pass them off to other people who have homes if their house is booked. That's amazing. But for me, I was like, if I don't have a community, I'm going to probably be vacant for a couple months and then someone else has a fire and then they come to my house. So I'm going to have like
Yep.
all these vacancies. What's your take on that?
Yeah, I feel that I have people message me, and I'll break this down for you guys like in a simple way. I have people that reach out to me regularly that say, "Hey, Jess, I'm just going after insurance claims. I'm on month 3 of paying my mortgage. Nobody's booked my place yet." You have every 88 seconds in the U.S., somebody loses their home due to a fire or flood. That's how common it is. It happens all the time. But the chances of your place being in the right space, the right market, having the right school district, being in the right zip code, being a certain distance from the operation of where those people work or whatnot, like there's a lot of stuff that gets involved in that. So like insurance claims are 30% of our business. We also go after construction companies. That's a big piece of the puzzle. And I can go into that a little bit more in detail with you. But if we're looking at a pie chart, we have this split into many different avatars where if you look at the short-term rental game, like people are looking at, I only want to host families and we have this geared specifically to families, or I'm only going to have bridesmaids come stay at my house. We're going to turn into a pink flamingo with cactuses everywhere and a couple pickleball courts. And this is going to be my health and wellness home. It's going to be for the fitness enthusiasts. Like this is where it's at. Yeah, you're going to only attract those certain people. But what we're doing is we're actually looking at a pie and we're cracking it in different directions. Like who can we have? So we're relying on multiple different types of clients and not just a specific one. Because if you are looking just on just insurance claims, dude, good luck. Like you might have a hard time getting your place booked. You might get lucky. I've got lucky. I've had students that got lucky. I know people that get lucky. Well, they'll get these nice claims and then all of a sudden you'll have a vacancy. But the cool thing about what we're doing, Jesse, is that we make exaggerated income because most people aren't willing to take the risk that you just brought up right now. We make 3 to 5 times long-term rental rates because most investors want to have steady income coming in. I might make $9,000. I'll give you the most recent claim we had. It's $9,000. My mortgage is $2K. I'm all in for $3,000 a month. I'm taking my CapEx money and I'm putting that aside. Like I'm already know if I'm vacant, that's going to go back into that pie. So I'm not living off the income that I'm making. I'm putting it back into a holding account, right? Or CapEx. So if I do have a rainy day fund for whatever reason my place doesn't book, I have the ability to cover that. So I think if you're a good midterm rental operator, you're going to think about those things from day one. You're going to have multiple different clients that you're going after. Yes, you're going to segment. I want the insurance claims. I'm going to focus on those, but you have to have different avatars that you're connecting with because, again, at the end of the day, it's super circumstantial for the insurance claims. And anybody that thinks otherwise, like, you're going to be in for a world of hurt when you realize, like, you might not get your place booked. And that's just the truth.
So much value in this podcast, man. I feel like I could keep going with you. I know the time, so we might need to do like an MTR versus co-living pad split, like a part two if you're down, man.
Yeah.
What I do want to dive into though is two things. One, let's talk about construction that you just said, the construction companies, and then also after that, amenities and how you make your places different, and then we'll wrap up.
Yeah. So construction companies are. I'm gonna break this down for you guys as simple as I can. There was a Dave and Buster's. Have I told you this story, Jess? Have you heard this before? The Dave and Buster's story?
I love this story. So please.
Okay, cool. This is going to give you guys like the context where you could build something, and there's probably something going on in your backyard right now that you are now going to look at after listening to this episode, a different light on how to view these. There was a Dave and Buster's being built in my backyard, in my market. I happen to have a property that's like literally 0.5 miles away from this. I drove by this Dave and Buster's as it was being built, and I saw a work truck out there that had plates from Louisiana, and they had big old sticker on the side of the truck that was from Louisiana. I took a picture of that truck. I then the next day called the company in the morning and I said, hey, I just seen this truck parked in front of the new Dave and Buster's that's going to be built. I'm curious. I actually have corporate housing. Can you tell me a little bit about like where you guys are staying right now? And it was this woman, and she was like, yeah, she was kind of weirded out. She's like, well, what do you mean? And I was like, well, I work with companies just like you, whether it's travel nurses, construction workers, people on location for business travel. So I broke down what I did, and I said, I'm just actually looking to see if I can save you money. Are you okay with that? And she's like, yeah. She was like, yeah, that actually sounds good. And I was like, cool. Can you tell me a little bit about where your folks are staying? And she's like, yeah, we actually have 5 engineers. They're staying at a Holiday Inn Express, and we're paying $200 a night. We have a corporate rate where it's actually down to $180. But she said with parking and the fees that come along, each guy is paying $200 a night, or the company is paying $200 a night. Keep in mind, this isn't Dave and Buster's. This is a subcontracted company to go out and do the work for Dave and Buster's. So she basically told me that they're spending $1,000 a day on lodging. And if you do the average on that, 30 days a month, right? 30 days, that's for $30,000. I'm like, are you okay paying $30,000 a month? And she's like, no, this is absolutely ridiculous, but we didn't have another option. And I was like, what if I was able to tell you that I can save you thousands of dollars a month if those guys are willing to stay in the same place together? 3 of them will have their own bathroom. The other 2 will have to try to figure it out, but they'll have rooms that are just as big as where they're at now, and I'll save you guys $20,000 a month. And she was like she literally made that sound. And she's like, we would be okay with that. I have to check with them first. And I was like, okay, cool. Well, the job site is literally 0.5 miles away. We would rent this place to you for $10K a month. She said they were going to stay for 3 months. And yeah, dude, I ended up getting a claim. I ended up getting those dudes that came and stayed at my property. It's a 5-bedroom, 3-bath. And they paid $10,000 a month. My mortgage is $2,500 plus, utilities are $3,500. I'm still making $6K a month on cash flow, which is freaking amazing for one door. The company saved money, saved $20,000 every single month for 3 months, which is insane. And after they were done, they actually extended an extra month. They went 4 months, and then they went to another job site in a place called Lubbock, Texas. You guys ever heard of Lubbock, Texas? Well, guess what? I actually have some of my students have property there. They got a chance to go stay at their properties in that market. So now I've built this relationship with this contracting company where now they're going to go anywhere in the world, and guess what they're going to hit up? Hey, Jess, you got property here. Cool. Yeah, let me go find you something. So again, I think we all have these opportunities in our backyard. Even if you drove by a Holiday Inn Express, dude, and you drove by there at 7 p.m. at night when these work trucks get back, go take pictures. How can I save a company money? What am I doing? I'm providing service for these companies. That's how you do it, man. I think a lot of times people are just not willing to put in the extra work to build something substantial for themselves. And this is not something that people are used to doing, and you have to get uncomfortable being uncomfortable. That's what this entire conversation has been about. How can I provide a service for somebody? This is how you do it.
So good. And guys, people are going to listen to this. He literally gave you the game plan. Get off your ass, get off of Airbnb, and get off of just waiting for these companies to reach out to you. Jesse, you actually helped me make thousands and thousands of dollars last year. When I heard this story, I listened to your podcast, bro. I love your stuff. When I heard this
Cool.
story, in my head, I have a lot of like different types of houses, all co-living. So I have entrepreneur houses, I have business professional, and then I have one house where I'm like, oh, I kind of need to fill this house, and all the leases are coming up at the same time. I heard this story and I implemented what I'm about to share. And so, guys, if you're listening, implement things, and I'll tell you exactly what happened. You told that story about going and taking pictures, and I was like, okay, I'm going to do that too. I went, and then all of a sudden I thought of an idea. What about all the union? In Arizona, there's a lot of people coming out here, electricians, contractors. So I bought like 6 boxes of Krispy Kreme donuts. I went to every single union that was around Phoenix, Arizona. Guess who's the number one person? Anytime someone comes into Arizona, they call if they have a plumber, if they have an electrician, if they have anyone who's here for like 3 to 6 months. Some guys have stayed over a year. They call me. I'm getting all these leads because of you, bro, because of your story. And I went out and I took action. And I want people, whatever you heard, we're about to wrap it up, but take action. There's so much value. This is free game.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, get out there and just do something. And again, hopefully my goal for this conversation with you, Jess, is that people start to look at how to fill homes in a different way. Because we know that long-term rental rates aren't working. Short-term rentals are being regulated all over the place. Like there's other options. And if you're creative, like those are the intuitive investors that are going to be around in the next few years. In fact, I think there's a lot of opportunity to build even more than that. It's corporate housing. What if you're able to get 100 doors and you have Google or Tesla or like some of these big companies coming in and starting to work with you? In fact, there's an infrastructure bill that passed in 2023 by the US. It was a bipartisan bill. So they're deploying $1 billion to all these different jobs all over the place. In fact, Phoenix is one of the places where they're building a walkway for a pedestrian bridge, which is a massive one. They're building, it's like I don't remember how much, I think like 60 million. And there's people that are working there right now from other places in the US to come work in that market. Dude, Jess, you should be looking into that.
100%. You already gave me some homework, things I got to implement. Jesse, you have such an amazing community. You also just give away so much for free on podcasts, on YouTube. Like I'm going to have to put all the, socials in the description of the podcast, but someone who's really serious, someone who wants to, I don't want to say it's a shortcut, but it's 2 things. You either get a mentor and join a community, or you make mistakes and it just takes longer. You get to choose mistakes or mentors. And so for you, you have an amazing community. I want you to talk briefly about it and how people, if they're serious about getting into MTRs, what do you guys provide?
Yeah. In my community, we have, I think it's the community part's the biggest, most important thing. We have a community where we share referrals, which we just talked about here a minute ago. Yeah, and what's most important is like if I have a problem with something, I can post on the line and just say, hey, I just landed a contract. I don't know what my lease looks like, and somebody's able to help you out. But yeah, you're able to fast track that. I have scripts and templates and all the things that you would need to get started. So if you want to, get to point B and you want to do that in 6 months, I mean, you can totally do that. Dude, I have a dude in here in my class right now that's doing $100,000 a month. He's been in the class for 6 months, and all he's doing is brokering deals, bro. It's insane. So I think you're going to start seeing a lot more of these people kind of wholesaling these deals out, because I think there's a lot of opportunities for people that own property. And there's a bunch of ways to make money, man. And it's not just about money. It's like you're building something that is of value to other people. So yeah.
Go tap in with Jesse. The Growth House community, we're all about go giving. We want to provide value. Jesse, no one's going to reach out to you and say, hey, bro, can I pick your brain? If they do, they're not from me. Or if they are from me, just send them to me. I'll talk to them. So what kind of value can someone provide you when they reach out and they want to ask you a question?
Yeah, I would say go to my YouTube channel, because there's probably any question that you have to ask is probably going to be on there. But if I'm looking for any deals right now, if there's anybody that has any deals that are over 20 units, because I just mentioned to you right now that I'm getting multi-unit properties, over 20 units that is not on market yet, I'm definitely looking for that. I want to do a split between the midterm game and the long-term game and be able to market those 2 things together, create some new net operating income. So it doesn't matter where it's at, just shoot them over to me, any deals. I think that would be helpful. But yeah, dude, that's it, man. I'm not really asking for much there, but if anybody's going to reach out to me, make sure you lead with that.
Love it. Let's go. Yeah. Man, it was a pleasure. I'm excited to continue our friendship, and pleasure having you on the show. Appreciate you, man.
Yeah. Thanks, man. I appreciate you too.
Jesse Ray, Growth House Podcast. We're out.